Hey, welcome back for Trick Tip Tuesday. Today's tip is going to be on some basic hammer and dolly techniques that are going to help you take your hammer and dolly work up a notch. So, there's some definite do's and don'ts on hammer and dolly work. Some tips that are going to help you to really fine-tune your hammer and dolly skills. So, some of the basic hammer and dolly techniques, typically, you think of hitting hammer and dolly, put the dolly on the backside to give you that solid surface and you're hitting it. Obviously there's a lot more to it than just that. So if you've got a high spot in a panel and you're trying to lower that high spot down, they have what they call an off dolly technique. So you're not necessarily hitting the dolly. You can hear that sharp ping sound when you hit the hammer to the dolly on the backside. But if you have, say, a high spot and you're trying to get that down, a technique would be to put the dolly on a lower part of the panel and hit off to the side, so you can hear the difference there. The on dolly has that high ping, off dolly has that lower ping, and you got to be real careful with that, because if you're hitting off dolly and you hit hard, you can bend the metal in a way you don't want to. You can kind of see it a little bit here, but the basic idea is that you would be using the off dolly technique to lower a high spot. So you're going to be, if you're pushing up on a low spot with the dolly on the backside and you're hitting off dolly, you're going to be, not really using a full force of a hammer blow to try to move the metal. You're more trying to massage the metal around it to help it move some metal and push the low spot up in a panel, or to then lower a high spot in a panel. So, that's one technique. So there's a couple different ways I swing a hammer when I'm doing hammer and dolly work. Obviously, if I've got a spot and I'm really trying to hammer it, I'll do some direct, straight up and down blows on it to try to move that metal around. And I'm usually, when I'm swinging like that, I'm actually trying to move the metal directly and quickly, to where I hit it with as few blows as I can to move the metal, and then I'm done with that technique. So sometimes if I'm wanting more of a planishing action to smooth out a panel, to smooth out the surface, I use I guess what I would call kind of a cross blow. So, with the dolly on here, I'm actually kind of swinging at a little bit of an angle, because you're not directly coming down and smashing the metal to stretch it. You're more of just kind of striking the surface at an angle, and it's going to move the metal, and it's going to help soften the blow in a way where you can blend an area together. So if you've got a little ridge, or you've got a little low spot, high spot that you don't really need that full blow for, you can move your hammer at a little bit of an angle and still make sure you're keeping the surface of the hammer, the face, flat, so you're not dinging an edge, creating a mark in the panel, but to where you're moving the metal you want to without really stretching one spot like you would if you come down straight and have that solid, hard, straight blow down to the metal. So yeah, that's a technique I use quite a bit, especially when I'm trying to smooth the surface, like I said. So, you really want to just strike, move the hammer a little bit to the side. Like I said, it kind of gives you more of a planishing action that's going to allow you to smooth out a surface without really stretching it too much. It's just going to kind of help even out any imperfections in the surface. And that can be used on a flat panel, on a curved panel. I was using the flat side of this dolly here. If you have, say, more of a round crown in your dolly and your panel also, you can still use that technique. You just have to make sure that you're following your curve with the dolly. That way, because if you've been in a curved surface and you're missing that, you know, all you're doing is going to be putting dents into your curved panel. So you really got to make sure you know, follow the hammering with the dolly underneath, and that's kind of a skill that you pick up as you do more hammer and dolly, to be able to follow underneath and know exactly where your dolly is on the bottom side. So those are kind of a couple of basic hammer dolly techniques that I use quite a bit when I'm hammering, to really, like I said, either if I'm really trying to stretch a panel, I'm coming straight down with the hammer. I'm, you know, really trying to come straight down with my strike to move the metal, and once it's there, you know, I stop, because, you know, the more you come down hard on it, the more you're stretching the metal, because pretty much anytime you're striking metal on metal, you're stretching the metal. So there's no way to really shrink the metal, at least directly using hammer and dolly technique, especially with the dolly on the backside. If anytime you're hearing that hard ping, you know, in a hammer and dolly, you're stretching the metal. So that's why I use that soft side glancing blow, because it's not that direct hard stretch. It's more of a moving, smoothing action that's going to really help you smooth out your panel. So hopefully some of these tips help you out a little bit as far as like this actual swinging of a hammer. You know, we'll do more videos later on maybe some of the techniques you can use on some of the picks on the backside. You can see, you know, some of these body hammers really have a lot of different shapes to the backside of them, different picks and that sort of thing. And there's uses for all those. You know, but most hammers have a flat surface on the face here. We do have a curved face here to be able to hammer. You know, if you have a curved panel, you can hammer it from the bottom side to be able to get inside that curve without hitting the edge on your hammer. So hopefully you enjoyed this tip, and we'll see you next Tuesday.